What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Awesemo team, talking some college football DFS ahead of December the 22nd. We have another lone bowl game. It is Missouri taking on Army, and we're going to get into everything, including the late news in this game. But before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. And without further ado, we'll bring you behind the glass, breaking down this showdown slate. It's a really interesting game we have here with a lot of news. Army is currently a 6.5-point favorite, and that is because a certain Tyler Beatty opted out of this game. We also got news that they're going to be starting Brady Cook at quarterback. But before we get into that, again, Army 6.5-point favorite, 55-point total overall, which is pretty good for an Armed Forces game. We know Army likes to run the triple option, which is why they're so slow and so run heavy. They only have a 14% pass rate. Conversely, Missouri, they're balanced in terms of their play rate, 71.5 plays per game. 50% pass rate, that has declined a lot down the stretch this year as they've embraced Tyler Beatty. As you can see, Tyler Beatty handled 35, 28, and 41 carries in their last 3 games. So his absence is monumental to this game, and we've already seen the line move 3 points since he left. So what does this mean for DFS? First of all, Army is a very weak pass defense. It's a spot where the number might look okay on the screen, 215 passing yards allowed per game. But when you break this down to a per attempt basis, they're actually allowing 8.7 yards per pass attempt. The issue is Brady Cook, the new starter, hasn't played at all this year. He started 1 game, except that came against Georgia. And we've seen many, many good quarterbacks struggle against Georgia, not to mention Brady Cook making his only start of the year. He didn't even reach 100 passing yards in that contest, but I think a lot of that was to be expected. He is a little more mobile based on a very small sample size. That's positive for him. And hopefully with this matchup, we can see him at least rival Connor Bazelak's stats through the air. So at his price, he is affordable in the captain spot. Typically, we see quarterbacks a little more. So I'm going to play a lot of Brady Cook. Hopefully he can take advantage of that Army weak pass defense, but again, very volatile. The run game. Outside of Beatty, the next guy up was Elijah Young, and he had 24 carries in the year. BJ Harris, 22. Michael Cox, 18. But interestingly, they touted Dawson Downing as the guy who's going to get the start here. Dawson Downing has carried the ball 9 times. He's seen 3 targets in the pass game. There's a chance that he walks into a monstrous workload. There's also the chance that they rotate backs. Again, no idea how this is going to work. For what it's worth, Elijah Young has been banged up. He missed their last game of the year, but it appears he'll play here. BJ Harris hasn't carried the ball in 3 straight games, but then Michael Cox has the most carries over their last 3 games. 3, 0, and 3 in that span. So what the timeshare looks like is going to be difficult to decipher, but all we know is that Dawson Downing should be the lead back, and he's the mid price. He's your safest option. You can use Young, Harris, and Cox in tournaments for leverage. The receiving game. They use 2 clear alphas, Toski Dove and Kiki Chisholm. Dove is more of your downfield threat. Chisholm is more of your underneath possession style receiver. 100 yards separates them on the year. It's 552 for Chisholm to 552 for Dove to 449 for Chisholm. The exact same target numbers, 59. Those are the 2 guys in the field most of the time. You have a slight preference towards Dove. He's cheaper. He has more receiving yards in the same volume. Not too close. The third receiver is Barrett Bannister. He's 4,200 and the captain spot, so really cheap for Bannister. He only has 169 yards in the year, but his target volume has climbed to 3.5 targets per game over the last 4. That's actually more than Chisholm. So Bannister certainly in play, just doesn't run as many routes. And then from there, we lost tight end Nico Hea. So that role is going to be split between Daniel Parker and Messiah Swinson, assuming both are healthy. Maybe a potential punt play with Parker, who has 18 targets on the year, to Swinson's 9. Outside of that, they will rotate receivers on the field. Dominic Lovett only played 3. He only ran around on 3% of dropbacks last week, so it looks like Lovett has been phased out. But Looper, he's the guy who hasn't played in like 5 straight weeks. Not sure if it's injury or what. Mookie Cooper is on the field about 25% of the snaps. JJ Hester, Deontay Smith. These guys have all been playing about a quarter of the snaps, so just pure dart throws. If one of them caught a touchdown, they'd maybe get you there. Army is the more interesting team to break down here. They use 2 quarterbacks. Missouri has a horrific run defense, so it's a spot you can definitely look at the triple option attack here. Missouri's allowing 5.3 yards per carry. Now, they use 2 QBs, but it's about 75% Anderson, 25% Tyher Tyler. Anderson is the only one that passes the ball. So in the rare situation they do throw, it's Anderson. Ty here plays a little bit on the ground. As you can see, the rushing attempts are almost identical for these guys. 9, 12, and 9 for Tyler, 10, 10, and 9 for Anderson. But Anderson's been far more dynamic, 60.5 rushing yards per game to 47 per game for Tyler. So Anderson's the preferred play here. He's one of the most expensive captains on the board, the most expensive captain now that Beatty's out, but he's probably the best play overall. At the fullback position, Jacoby Buchanan leads a committee, but he averages 9.5 opportunities per game, but you just have to remember all those are fullback dives. So unless he scores a touchdown, he's not going to get you there, but he does lead the team in touchdowns overall. So he's kind of that risky TD dependent back. He'll split time with Anthony Akins, Tyson Riley, even like a Cade Ballard plays occasionally here in this role. I think you only really want to focus on Akins and Buchanan overall, but Akins is a little interesting. Then Army uses slot backs. These are guys that get a lot of pitches, usage in the passing game when they do throw. Tyrell Robinson leads the group. He's also the most efficient back on the year. He has 608 rushing yards on just 82 carries. So he's not running fullback dives constantly. He's actually dynamic in space, but now you have to pay for him. So he's very, very expensive. And outside of that, the other slot backs aren't really getting a lot of work. You have AJ Howard, Brandon Walters, Raheem Murphy. None of these guys are used much of late. So to me, I'd rather pay for like an Anthony Akins at a much cheaper price than a Tyrell Robinson, but you have to spend your salary somewhere. In the receiving game, again, Tyrell Robinson, the slot back, he is the second most targets on the team. Then slot backs, Raheem Murphy and Brandon Walters are tied for third, but their alpha is Isaiah Alston, 31 targets on the year, 2.8 per game. That's 38 yards. So he has been very efficient when he's been getting those limited opportunities, but he's somewhat dependent on negative game script. The number 2 receiver has been Ryken Donaldson, but he missed their most recent game, allowing Cole Catterbone to see 2 targets and pop up here. Not huge news, but potentially watch these guys. I think it could be a timeshare, but probably not much interest in the Army pass catchers anyway, just pure dart throws. But that'll do it for us in the Showdown slate. Let me know in the comments your favorite play on the slate. I'm Matt Gajewski on Twitter at Matt_Gajewski. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll be with you through all bowl season. Catch you again later.